I'm so proud and so happy because as I watched the awards being given, the Emmys being presented, I must tell you that at least half of the individuals who have been coming up and receiving the Emmys were students of mine at Temple University.
Imagine how one person can change the lives of thousands.
My greatest satisfaction for teaching is seeing the successful graduates.
How one person can change lives for the better. Lew Klein did.
Lew was a pioneer. Lew was there writing the rule book for television as television was rolling out.
Lew's an amazing man. I consider him a friend. He has played a lot of different roles in my life as a mentor.
You can look at Lew Klein as a guy that is a true pioneer in this industry, a guy that has dedicated himself to the field of communications and education, and a guy that no matter if you're a teenager, if you're in the middle of your career, or even if you're far along in your career, you can look at him as a guy who did it right.
Lew blazed the trail for so many of us.
He had a heart of gold in that, he's someone who cares deeply about the city of Philadelphia and cares deeply about Temple University.
He's probably one of the most inspirational human beings on the planet, one of the most instrumental, and probably has affected more individual lives than anybody in Philadelphia broadcasting.
He's a trailblazer.
On the day we honor Lew Klein in the renaming of Temple's School of Media and Communication as the Klein College of Media and Communication, we celebrate his life and his achievements with a few of those whose lives he's touched.
Recent issue of Broadcasting Magazine, the industry's Bible, Lew Klein wrote, quote, "The only way television veterans and newcomers alike can survive and prosper is to have a complete understanding of the changes affecting the entire industry." Lew Klein has put these words into action. In fact, they define his career. Tonight, the Board of Governors honors Lew Klein as a true programming pioneer, an impeccable broadcaster, and maybe for his most important role as a teacher, an extraordinary career launcher for dozens of television professionals. Lew was an executive producer in the earliest, most fertile days of television, when ideas and programming concepts were truly new, when you had to create the trends, not merely follow them. He produced ABC network programs such as Frontiers of Knowledge, College News Conference, and of course, American Bandstand, all produced here in Philadelphia. As a broadcaster, he is a leader. He was the co-founder of television's most influential organizations, the National Association of Television Program Executives, or NATPE. Long before it was in vogue, Lew recognized the importance of owning and operating TV stations in smaller markets within our region, where the power and influence of television is critically important to the local community. But when it comes to giving something back, Lew is without peer in our television community. He has taught us that as we strive for excellence in a new age of television, it's important to remember what got us here, so that someday we can invest our accomplishments in another generation of television professionals. As a teacher, as a broadcaster, and as a friend, no one we know has provided so much in the blossoming of countless careers.
I began my career actually after some odd jobs at the Evening Bulletin, a newspaper that existed at that time, and working for an independent producer for a little bit. But I started my career at Channel 6 in Philadelphia, and have stayed here all of my career.
If you could be anybody on this planet in terms of temperament and respect for others and concern about others and their development, Lew Klein is the gold standard.
Lew was one of the first persons to come greet me when I was here, and he came up to me and he said, "I'm really happy that you're here." And he just wanted to know what happened with my prior job, how I got to be here. And again, just always had that engaging interest that Lew always had. And probably one of the most touching things for me was he came knocking on my door after I was here at Temple and reached in his pocket and he handed me my internship evaluation from 1978. And I was like, Lew, why do you have this? And he just looked at me and he said, I just saved the ones for the students I knew who were going to make it in this business.
So for me, what I learned from Lew when I was a young person is to believe in students' dreams until they can believe in them themselves. And be that source of encouragement and advice, be that source of connectivity between the workplace, the real world, and their collegiate experience. And I think for those of us who can put the Lew Klein method into practice, we are creating that next generation of students who not only believe they can do it, who know they can do it, and have that confidence once they leave Temple to go pursue amazing careers.
And then I became a backup anchor, and he was my biggest supporter. And I was only 24, 25 years old, and most people said I was too young, I was too ethnic, and nobody would watch me. And during the time from 1969 to 1970, when they made their decision to make me the anchor, he was a major vote.
Lew talks about being pleasantly aggressive, and I would say that Lew is one of the most pleasant people I have ever met. There is never a bad day. Lew always has a smile on his face, and I think that too resonates, because if you get up in the morning and no matter what it is, you look at the world as a glass half full, as Lew does, then I think it carries you through in a different way than glass half empty and looking at the problems. So, and again, he transfers that to the classroom, because while he may deliver a terse message, he delivers it in a way that is, you want to be successful, you do these things, you will be successful. And in a few years, you will be calling me and telling me your success story.
I think it's pretty obvious when you look at Lew what kind of man he is. He's a patriarch. He was very paternal about the whole thing. I mean, he just a strong, good, kind man, family man, with a wonderful wife, and that's a huge thing. So I would say the thing I know about him is that he had amazing character from the moment I met him, and I was only 18 years old.
So what I've always appreciated about Lew is his eternal optimism and how he beams with pride about Philadelphia and about Temple. I would run into him randomly at industry events, and he always had a warm smile, a hug, kind words, encouraging words. He's just an amazing mentor and friend.
It's funny because we honor Lew, but I always think of them together. I always think of Lew and Janet. Not only a wonderful person, she's an amazing resource. The role she plays in this community, the role she plays at Temple, with her work on our Ambler campus in support of the programs there, and their commitment as a couple to philanthropy, to the arts, to the humanities in this town.
What I say about Lew is that he is influential way beyond his being on campus. Lew is one of the guys who has put his imprint on the world of journalism, and we're all better for it. His reach goes far beyond the campuses of Temple University into all of the newsrooms all around the world. Everybody's got a Lew Klein story. Everybody's worked with somebody who passed through the doorways of Temple University. And Lew is a guy who pushed many of us along to bigger and better things.
Lew, to this day, and that's why he's being honored tonight, has amazing character. He's just one of the coolest guys I've ever known.
He's 20 feet tall, muscle and steel. And when he's on a rampage, like right now, you better get out of this way.
Television has changed so unbelievably, and what's, I think, extremely remarkable is that just in one generation, in one lifetime, I have seen television be born, almost, certainly commercially, to be born, to become viable, to become probably the most major impact on people ever.
He made marionettes that were used in the Butin Paint weathercast that aired on Channel 3 once a week in the early 50s. He went on to run camera. I think he's done just about every position you could do. And as a programmer, as a manager, his vision for how a television station serves a community, for the role it plays in entertainment, information, education, and for the way a manager relates to the people he guides. That'll be his legacy. His legacy is that he was there, when there was a test pattern and static. And from that, he created some amazing content. He guided people in the creation of that content, and he satisfied an audience that had no idea what to expect from television.
It's hard to point to any area, especially in local television, where you can't find his fingerprints. I mean, they're all over the place. I mean, he's been involved at just about every level. I mean, back in the day, I hate to say back in the day, but back in the day when they were doing a lot of live television, I mean, things like Popeye Theater, the Sally Starr Show, Captain Noah. I mean, that was all live television done on the fly, and Lew was the guy that did all of that. And it was, I mean, that's a tough thing to do, is to pull that off every single day, 5 days a week. But he did it.
The industry is constantly changing, and in this point in time in the industry, when there are so many new platforms, and truly people don't know what TV will be. TV has a new meaning than what it had even a few years ago. They don't know what it will be in 5 years, 10 years. But what's interesting is that's the way it was, in the 70s when Lew was taking great risk in buying local TV stations.
He is a beginner and a pioneer, especially in the Philadelphia area, which was a huge market for all of the networks, CBS, ABC, NBC. I'll just name all the networks. But there was no cable. So there was UHF, which was a little wire antenna.
And now here from Philadelphia, where today's program and production manager, WFIL-TV, and also executive producer of American Bandstand, is the man who directed Dick's audition, Lew Klein. Here's Lew.
How did Dick's audition go there, Lew? Dick was nervous and excited and impressed when he came to WFIL, and yet he had a quiet, confident manner about him. When he walked in, he brought with him his own script for a news show, a soup commercial, and a little write-up about himself. Dick was certainly a young man who knew where he was going and how to get there.
And I was scared to death.
Everybody liked him, and of course he got the job.
Which is a lesson for all young people in search of jobs. Come prepared. Thank you, Roger Klipp and Lew Klein, for taking time out to fly here from Philadelphia to give us this insight into Dick's character. Dick, you'll see Roger and Lew and all the gang later at the party in your honor at the Hollywood Roosevelt Hotel, where your family and out-of-town friends have been staying.
I had no idea of who this person was who was my internship coordinator. I had no idea of his background and his career. As far as I knew, he was just another professor at the university. At the time, I did not know of all his achievements with Channel 6 and with Bandstand and Captain Noah. And as a lifelong Philadelphian, it wasn't until after I graduated and got working in the business that I just found out who this person was. And it was like, oh my goodness.
There wouldn't be NATPE without Lew Klein, period. In 1963, he co-founded the association with a couple of broadcasters, and then he went on in 1978 in launching the NATPE Educational Foundation. And since then, I believe about 4,000 students have been either going through internship program or got jobs for NATPE. He's very involved in our strategy during our board meeting. He sits on the executive committee and and I mean that, he drives the Education Foundation with passion and great leadership. So, NATPE equals Lew Klein.
Lew has this wonderful ability to understand where our business is going. He's He's a guy who I like to say looks around corners. He's able to envision where our business is going before the rest of us. And for decades now, that foresight has guided Temple University. And Lew has this ability to understand things are changing at a revolutionary rate, and somehow manages to keep Temple ahead of the curve, and has done so for decades.
He has blazed the trail for so many of us. He's had such an impact on broadcasting. But even further, he's had such an impact in the way he has given back to the community in so many areas, and in the way that he has mentored so many people in their careers.
When I started at Channel 6, there were just 3,000 television sets in Philadelphia.
Wow.
So, and a lot of question about whether people would pay because television sets were expensive. So I was very fortunate in timing, and I think timing plays a role in everybody's careers. But it did for me because it was a time when television was just exploding in terms of the number of television sets that were being sold, the number of television stations that were coming on the air, and the amount of programming that local stations and the young networks were beginning.
Lew is a very gentle man. He's a gentleman. He is incredibly generous, and yet he is a strong, brilliant, vibrant man. Even at an advanced age, he is as sharp as anybody in this building. He stays really dedicated to the students, to the profession, stays really connected to all of it. He's really an inspiration in that regard. To be able to sustain that sort of connection and commitment over the course of more than 6 decades is a phenomenal thing.
It was really humbling to receive a Louie. And after so many years on the air, and there's lots of awards on the shelf, but that one perhaps is the most meaningful. And not just because of who Lew is in the broadcast community, but because I truly admire what he is in the community as a whole, how much he's given back to the community, and how much he's given to individuals, young and old, who are trying to take the next step in their careers.
He had a heart of gold in that, he's someone who cares deeply about the city of Philadelphia and cares deeply about Temple University. And as a fellow owl, that warms my heart. If this makes the school, more known nationally, more recognized, not known, but then, that's just amazing to me.
Yeah, I think that's, for a young person, that's really inspiring to see somebody who's been in it as long as he's been in it, done it as well as he has done it, won every honor imaginable, been a part of landmark programming like American Bandstand, which is iconic in Philadelphia, in American television history. And yet, he's very humble, but moreover, you get the feeling that he's not resting on those laurels. He's always working on something new, and he's got this tremendous enthusiasm, and he imparts that enthusiasm to everyone he's in contact with.
I have never seen anyone with more commitment to this institution than Lew Klein. He personifies the selflessness that I think people would like to emulate in terms of being committed to something that is so important, and that is to the future of the next generation. So by being in the classroom, by teaching students, by mentoring students, by encouraging them, by lecturing to them when they are interns and advising them on behaviors and communication strategies and ways to look for opportunities, I think that selflessness is really empowering for those of us who are teachers to see.
A Philadelphia native meeting a guy who EP'd Bandstand and created Captain Noah, I was in awe. Then I became to know a little bit more about Lew and understand what an entrepreneur he was and the vision he had for TV. He was a risk taker. He invested in local TV stations and truly understood the value of local TV stations. And I'm not talking about the revenue value, but the value that TV stations and broadcasters have in communities, the connection to the community, the commitment to the community. So I learned that through Lew.
I had someone who's been so generous to me and to Temple University, and probably, right now the leading philanthropist in Philadelphia and in the country, and that's Jerry Lenfest. And he has always said to me, when I've talked to him about doing something, he always says, will it make a difference? And if you can make a difference in someone's life, what greater joy can there be? And that's the way I see it.
Well, I think his legacy manifests itself in a lot of different ways. He's absolutely a broadcast pioneer. The resume speaks for itself. But this is a guy incredibly principled, good-natured, a natural-born mentor. This is somebody who has always taken the time to propel people forward. His direct influence is on full display with everything that he's done. His indirect influence comes from the fact that Lew made people seek out internships in newsrooms. Lew would pick up the phone and say, I've got somebody who you should take a look at. And that kind of a phone call went to newsrooms all across the country. And there are a lot of us Temple Owls in news organizations who are here in part because Lew encouraged everyone to take a chance on somebody from Temple University.
The ghost of Lew runs around this building because he had a lot to do with what went on in this station many years ago. And I think a lot of the foundation of the way this station acts towards the community and acts towards its responsibilities comes from Lew and people like Lew who ran the station many years ago.
Lew Klein is a man who, after his career was over, spent another 25 years developing other people's careers, whether it be through NATPE, through his work at Temple University, and his general inspiration, and his work with the Police Athletic League, which affected thousands of people. He's a dear friend. He's a great broadcaster. He's only 90 years young, and he still acts like a teenager. And they say that his best friend, Dick Clark, was the ultimate teenager. Lew is.
There are certain people who get their greatest satisfaction not from what they achieve, but what they're able to help others achieve. And Lew is definitely one of those people. You can just see he speaks with much more pride about what his students have achieved. Somebody like Steve Kappas or Bernie Prezenica, when he talks about them, his eyes light up more than when he talks about his own career.
I think what makes Lew very special is generosity, his humility, and his amazing way to be able to contact with everybody that comes his way. He's been, a professor in media and communication for 64 years at Temple University, and everybody's come across, whether it's Whoopi Goldberg, Anderson Cooper he gave an award to, or a student, is the same person. When you talk to Lew, you talk to somebody who's passionate about television, who has a purpose of making broadcasting better, and that's making very special. He's very approachable.
One of the beautiful things about Lew is that he's a man of great stature, and he's a man of great influence and accomplishment. But he is incredibly approachable, and he's someone who is very warm, and he's someone who's very giving. And if you're a young kid in a school and you're just kind of feeling your way, you're aware of who he is, you're aware of what he's done, and there'd be a feeling of maybe a little bit of apprehension about approaching him or asking him for help. But there's none of that with Lew, because he just projects this kind of openness that, hey, he's here to help. And he doesn't just say it, he means it. So if you look around the Philadelphia media community, there are scores of people in all fields, and that's newspapers, magazines, television, radio, almost everywhere you look, that are in the business, in the community, and succeeding, largely because they had Lew Klein as either a teacher or a mentor or a friend.
Lew has shaped the careers of so many students and professionals through his teaching, his mentorship, and his philanthropy, making it possible for students to chase their dreams and make them a reality. And while television has continued to change, Lew continues to be a trailblazer in the media, with gentle guidance, continued leadership, and a vision for the future of television. Lew has remained committed to not only producing excellent students, but ensuring the excellence of broadcast for years to come. Lew, we salute you today and every day for all you have done and who you are. Lew, thank you so much for your mentorship, philanthropy, and dedication to television. But before we go, I think I would say thank you for all you've done, for all you've brought to the school, for all the great respect that it now has. Because when I was at Temple, it was a great school. It was known as a great communications program. But now, because of him and the people that he helped mentor, it is one of probably the most premier school in the country right now in terms of turning out people who actually get jobs in the business.
I'm so thankful for the opportunity to thank Lew for his great commitment to the industry, to Temple, to Philadelphia, and personally to me.
I wish there were dozens of you. I wish you could be reproduced, and because there just aren't enough people like him.
Thank you from me and from so many others for the example that you have set for us in terms of broadcasting, in terms of community, and in terms of mentorships.
Keep doing great things for the city of Philadelphia. Keep doing great things for Temple University. I respect and admire you, and thank you.
It would be simply thank you. Thank you for the people you've helped. Thank you for the career you've helped shape for so many of us. Thank you for the work you've done in television and radio and new media. Thank you for the work you do with NATPE, making sure that we have some semblance of what television programming should be to serve our audience. Thank you for the philanthropic work you do in this town. And someday you still have to tell me why you and your partner didn't buy Channel 17. All I really can say is thank you.
Without you, I probably wouldn't be sitting here today, and my life wouldn't be nearly as gratifying as it is and has been. But I'd also thank him for his friendship and for Janet's friendship and for all the things he's done for Temple, and you know, he's just an example not only in the media world, but he's an example as a human being. So, you know, I'm pleased to know him and to count him as a mentor and a friend.
Your enthusiasm is infectious. Your pursuit of quality journalism is welcomed by all of us. You are a guiding force for Temple University, but for people all around our chosen profession. It's a profession that you love, you've dedicated yourself to it, and we're all the better for it. Thank you so much.
I just think the world of you, and I appreciate you in my life. And every student who's gotten a part of you, that has gotten to get some of your wisdom, is fortunate. And I know you also feel the exchange, that you gained a lot from what you did with all the students and how you helped them all.
Lew Klein changed my life more than any other human on the planet. What else can I say?
Lew, I cannot think of anyone who deserves this honor and this recognition better than you. This has gone full circle from the days you came to Temple University before there were even studios here and taught people the craft and art of television. And it's just so fitting to me that after all these years that this school will have your name, and I'm extremely proud and happy for you.